What's up, boxing fans? Today we are going to look back at Wilder versus Arreola, Crawford and Postall preview, and some fantasy booking. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
We got a full crew, baby.
Yeah.
Welcome back,
Thank you.
Andrea. What's up, everyone? The AfterBuzz TV after show here for boxing. Of course, as you can see, the ring and the glove behind my head. It's obvious what show this is. We are here. We're going to be talking some Wilder versus Arreola, Andrea's favorite boxing name in the business.
Totally my favorite name. Like, what?
Of all time. We're going to look ahead and preview the big pay-per-view this weekend, Terrence Crawford versus Victor Postall, and then a little fantasy booking this week, a little twist, a little something new to the show.
I like it.
I know, it's kind of fun. But first, the intros. I'm Jared Gilkerson. That's at Gilkerson Radio on Twitter, alongside Andrea Fasano. Andrea, where can everyone find you?
I'm so happy to be back. Thank you for having me, Jared. You guys can find me on all social media at Andy Fasano. Andy with an I. Yeah, exactly. I was going to say that.
Yes.
I'm happy. I mean, you know, I make an appearance every once in a while, but love boxing, and I love getting to see the matches. So.
Well, it's so much. It's more fun to kind of go back and forth with these fights. And,
totally.
And after a while, I know on Tuesday after the Kovalev fight, I was sitting here by my lonesome, and then I just realized, I'm like, I wonder if anyone disagrees with me here.
Right.
Like, but then there's that lovely part. No one can disagree.
Nobody can argue.
No one can.
And we know how I feel about Kovalev, so I'm mad that I missed that. But
yeah, it was an interesting fight that went 12 rounds, and no one really thought it would. But that was Tuesday, you know, and Kovalev's off too. He's going to be fighting Andre Ward, looks like, in the fall, so that'll be nice. But we'll move ahead here to the heavyweights today to talk about Wilder and Arreola. But first, we are live on YouTube. I've been chatting with myself on YouTube, and I can see us right here. We're chit-chatting. We're in the chat, so let us know what you thought of Wilder versus Arreola, and we'd love to hear the predictions for the next week's pay-per-view. And also during our fantasy booking, chime in and let us know how you would book a fight that we will talk of. But we are live on YouTube. You can download us on iTunes and SoundCloud, so be sure to rate us and subscribe. We love when the fans chime in and let us know what they love about the show, so we can give them more of that. And let us know, what you hate about the show, because then we can just eliminate that. If they're like, hey, we don't like Jared, then I'll just leave.
He's just going to go.
I'm just going to leave in the middle of the show.
Yeah, and I'll come back and do the show by myself. Not.
Yeah, sure, you're fine. It could be like we can get, I think Arreola's got some time off.
He definitely does. I don't think I could look at him.
Well, not after the fight.
Dude.
So let's jump in.
Not after the fight in the man boobs. Come on.
Okay, I got to give it up to Chris Arreola, because years ago, his man boob situation was worse. And he actually cut it down. But with the tattoos, and it just looks a little odd. He looks a little odd in the ring, especially against someone so cut like Deontay Wilder. He's like beyond
so strong
ripped,
and so like sturdy. You know.
That's the beauty of the heavyweight division, though.
Of boxing.
Well, because you get like the
crazy.
welterweights, and you get these guys that are all 147 pounds and been cutting all week, and some guys are a little more ripped than the others. But a lot of times you get like when George Foreman came back in the 90s. He was flabby, but he could still punch. And he was knocking out guys that were jacked and ripped and in shape. But it didn't matter, because in heavyweights, one punch power can end your day. So we saw someone's day who was ended yesterday, Chris Arreola. Now, the official decision, because I don't get to write this down very often as I try to get my touch screen here, the official decision for last night's fight was, if I could see here, was the RTD decision. Not TKO, not KO. Not unanimous decision, not a UD. It was a referee technical decision, so his corner threw in the towel at the end of the fight.
Did you expect that? Were you...
You mean while I was watching?
Yeah.
In the middle of it?
Well, not when it obviously kind of got obvious that might go down, but I mean, especially with the way that Deontay was just messing with him and kind of like literally dancing around the ring, I felt like he might do the one-punch knockout. And I was kind of waiting for it.
I think everyone in Mobile, Alabama was waiting for it. His hometown, where he's beloved. You're referring to in the middle of the fight where Arreola was just tagging him with body punches, and Wilder was dancing, literally dancing and mugging for the cameras and proving it didn't hurt.
Swaying. I mean, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
And then he did it again a round or two later.
Yeah. Well, let's roll the highlights from last night, and we'll talk over a bit. If you're on iTunes, we'll describe them to you. So let's roll those in, and we'll talk about Wilder versus Arreola last night. As we see the lovely man boobs. Now, if we could we bring up the sound just a touch, that'd be great.
There we go.
Thanks, Zach. Yeah. So Wilder all night. I mean, he's rangy. He's 6'7".
Great reach, great leverage.
So when he there
Look
he
at
is.
this, look at this.
So there's Wilder dancing right there.
And oh my God, poor guy.
Poor
Poor
Arreola.
Chris. I can't even say his last name.
Yeah, and then in the fourth round, Wilder dropped Arreola with a flurry of punches. But I mean, you got to give it up.
You know, I will give it up to him for the fact that he knew he was being messed with, and he never let anger or kind of like being irritated govern the way that he still tried to box.
Yeah, I mean,
You know what I mean? He didn't try to change anything up. His style stayed the same, and he really just tried to hang in there. And you do have to give him credit for that.
Yeah, you know, I think Arreola now in his career, as we watch Deontay Wilder do some more dancing in the corner.
Come on.
And I'll talk to some of the. I'd like to hear some from some of the fans if they are fans of when a guy does all that mugging and dancing in the middle of a match.
And what about holding him like that, like the ref was getting pissed about?
Well, the referee did warn. Mm-hmm. Oh, there it is. Still WBC champ, Deontay Wilder, hand raised in victory. Easy night for him.
Super easy.
What did you just ask, Andrea? I just lost my train of thought.
No, that's okay. I was saying I just gave props to Arreola for, still hanging in there and still playing his game, if you will, as best he could.
That's kind of a good point because Arreola had back in let's say 7 years ago, he took on the older Klitschko out here in LA. I had the chance to go, and at that point in his career, he was kind of a top 10, and people thought, okay, this guy's on his way up, and he's gonna maybe be something. But every time he took the next step to fight a champion, whether it be Wilder or Klitschko or even Stavern, he just couldn't get it done. And he's always been someone who's like a B fighter and just couldn't become an A fighter. And it almost seems like in the ring, he's resigned to just accepting that. Now he's a guy that can take a beating really well. Mm-hmm. Like he's got a chin, can get back up from getting knocked down, and he can take a beating from someone who's 6'7".
Right.
But it's kind of a bummer because you look at a fighter like that and you say, oh, well, that's all he's going to be. And maybe he's accepted it. Now, maybe he couldn't admit that, but that's what Arreola is. So when you were watching the fight, I mean, how did you score? Did you give every round? Was it end of every round the Wilder? I don't think how could you score it any other way?
Agreed, 100%. And it's funny because we usually watch it together, but today we didn't, and so I started watching it alone, and I was like, what even happened in the first round? Like I had to feel like, did I just see any? Like nothing really happened yet.
No, a lot of heavyweight fights start off really slow.
Totally slow, and you kind of go, all right, well, I almost want to give it to Arreola just because I know this is gonna go the other way for Wilder the entire time, but no, of course I gave it to him. So
8 rounds to 0 is an easy way. If it would have gone to the scorecards, it was trending that way, but Arreola couldn't last. It wasn't a very tough fight. He retained his WBC title. So the dancing. Now there are some fans on Twitter who say, this is too much showboating. This is annoying. I hope he gets his head knocked off. Now, as a fan, when I see that, I go, oh man, I hope this backfires, because then it could really turn the fight around.
Oh my gosh,
when someone's winning by such a wide margin and they showboat and they can get clocked, that's what I wanted. But then you just had to accept as a fan.
He's not
Arreola doesn't
clocked.
have.
No.
But what do you think of the showboating and the dancing and all the ring? I mean, do you dig it?
I think it's hilarious, and I did enjoy it when my mouth dropped. I was like, what is he doing?
Yeah, it takes a second.
I think for me, it bothers me a little bit with Wilder because we were talking about, he's got the wingspan, so he kind of doesn't need to be very, official with his stance and stuff, but his arms were hardly up ever, like throughout the entire fight. Again, he didn't have to, but I get it. And then, he's coming around with these punches, and they were kind of like I don't know, just wobbly
Just
and all over,
punches.
way looping,
Yeah.
and awkward, super awkward looking. So I'm kind of like, okay, if you're gonna showboat, fine, but then and he was landing them. The jabs obviously were really, really dead on. But those kind of punches, I'm like, if you did it right, you would have knocked him out. In my head, I'm watching that going, you're not so loopy, you're not so around the bout, then you'd have a cross hit him in the head that he won't get up from.
Yeah,
so
it's a good point. He's not very tight with his punches. And we can get into right now. He hurt himself last night, and a lot of people will say it's because of these looping hooks. His uppercut's probably the sharpest punch, and his jab is nice. But whenever he throws a hook, he's wide open for a counter, and it's not the very most technical looking punch. So it's official. It came out today that he broke his right hand, and I believe the fourth round when he almost knocked out Arreola. I know, and went another 4 rounds, and then tore his right bicep. So the big news there is that he may be out for a considerable amount of time. If that happens, the WBC could match up the number one ranked contender against number 2. Right now, it looks like Stavern and maybe Povetkin have it up for grabs as Wilder waits. But this all depends. Wilder could say, hey, I'll be good in 6 months.
Right.
And
but a torn bicep is not something that you just know the amount of time that you can come back from.
No.
That's
the broken hand. There's been fighters that deal with broken hands, and that's not easy to deal with.
It's painful, but there's a certain amount of time for it to heal, and if you do things the right way, it can do that. And there's a better way of kind of seeing what's going on with x-rays and all that jazz, but a torn bicep, ouch.
Yeah, for all the showboating he did, and for people thinking, he's still a tough guy.
Yeah.
He's a tough fighter.
I have to say that for the little dancing, the swaying,
Yes.
it was super impressive to see that this guy is pounding at your rib cage and your torso, and you're just it's not even leaving a mark on me.
Yeah, and Arreola's knocked out some decent fighters in the past. He didn't climb up for no reason.
Right.
He's a hard puncher. And it didn't. And Wilder's kind of a twig for being 6'7". He's, I think, 227 pounds. Mike Tyson almost weighed that much, and he was 5'11". Right. So, but he can take a punch. I don't know. I still don't know
how he did it.
If he can take a punch to the chin.
Oh, okay.
He got tagged a few times in this fight, but nothing clean. And I said on Tuesday's broadcast, he hasn't fought anyone that's above a B- fighter. But to his credit, he has called out people that are the tops of the division. Guys like, Tyson Fury, who is hopefully going to fight Klitschko in the fall. So we could jump right in. What's next for Wilder here?
Okay.
It all depends on if he's healthy. Because if he's going to be out for a year, he's kind of irrelevant, which
Totally.
really sucks because the heavyweight division is kind of ripe for the taking right now. That needs a star.
And he could have been, I'm going to say obviously because of his injuries, that star, because he's entertaining. He's personable. When you see him talk about everything beforehand, any interviews he's done, he's actually he's not a piece of shit. You look at him and you're like, you're funny. You get it. You know what this is about. You're in love with the sport. You love what you do. And so that's the only reason why the showboating isn't as bad for me coming from him, just because I think all around he kind of knows, he very well knows what he's doing. Yeah. And he's just a monster. I think that it would be really fun to get to see him go on from here.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of upset that he's hurt, and I hope that he gets a chance to heal before they make any of those decisions. Because I don't think it's fair to strip him of that and have him fight back for it anyway.
Yeah, technically it wouldn't be a strip. They would just say, hey, you're champion emeritus.
It's on pause.
Yeah, it's on pause.
We're going to substitute you in this.
And I get why the WBC, if you have to wait 6 months, no. But if let's say he's not going to fight until this time next year, then
yeah.
I see why the WBC would have to do something to keep their belt relevant and keep their title out there. And then, hey, okay, then when you come back, you're the champion, and then you'll be fighting kind of the interim champion. And it could maybe
in that way, it kind of could be cool, to see that happen.
Yeah, especially if he's gone for a while and people kind of forget. Let's say Tyson Fury becomes the face of the division. I'm not sure if it's going to happen. Or guys like Anthony Joshua over in England, who he's also been rumored wanting to fight. There's a chance for then, oh, hey, did you forget about me? I've been away for a year. So I think realistically, let's say he's out for 9 months. I think there's a real chance you can put a mega fight together. I mean, that's what heavyweight boxing needs, is a mega fight. And personally, I would like to see Klitschko get revenge on Fury and hopefully look like the Klitschko of, a few years ago. And then a mega fight between Klitschko and
Wilder
against Wilder would be what I would like to see.
Ideal for you,
Because then it's almost like a passing of the torch moment there. But I think best case for him is maybe spring of 2017, something. But
Really?
with tearing your bicep like that,
Oh,
I don't think that's an easy recovery, like you were saying. So.
I just don't. I mean, yeah, he was hitting him hard, like really hard when he got a chance. But I'm just like, wow, in that fight, it's kind of sad.
Yeah, and hopefully it's not as serious as it sounds. So, and he's game. He's a tough guy. So I think Wilder is a guy that could. Oh, he's young. He's 30. I think he can maybe overcome an injury like that.
He's in good shape.
So let's
build it
hope
back.
That he can build towards something where the top 5 heavyweights can all, the guys like Luis Ortiz as well, can all start fighting each other very soon, because that's what people want. As for Arreola, I mean,
Bye-bye.
yeah. It's obscurity. No one really gave him a shot. He didn't. The odds were against him in this fight. I don't think he's much more than a fringe top 10 kind of contender at best in his career. If he could fight for a few more years against decent competition, make some good money. But I really don't see him getting another legit title shot, maybe for the rest of his career. I just don't think it's possible.
Well, I'll 100% agree with you on that, because look at what just happened. Like, if Wilder, as we said, isn't even the best of the best right now, and he's just like really getting there, I don't know what kind of shot would Arreola have with anybody else.
Yeah, I don't think much of one.
Right.
I think he almost becomes a stepping stone kind of fighter for someone who's coming
For
up,
sure.
and they say, okay, before you take on the best, there's Arreola. Sometimes guys are willing to become that because they still can make a good payday, and sometimes guys say, I'm not going to become the B fighter that everyone else wants to fight. So, and just to get to the next area. So who knows? Arreola's been around for a while. I remember seeing him cry at Staples Center when I went, and all the fans turned on him. Short story, because all the Latino fans loved him, and really were all against Klitschko, and he started crying in the ring for the post-fight interview, and then the fans immediately turned on him and booed him out of the building. And I just was like, oh no, you can't. You got to hold it back, kid. You got to hold back the tears, Chris.
He's sensitive.
He's a sensitive man. So, best of luck.
I did appreciate also how they would like bump gloves in the middle, even after going.
You like that stuff?
I do, because I think for all the showboating again that Wilder was doing, and with how brutalized Arreola was getting, they both, hey, this is in the ring, like this is it, bell sounds, yeah, totally, like, okay. Even on the way when it was getting really, I mean, it was like mid-fight, you know. I do like that. I respect it, for sure.
I'll take a good old-fashioned I hate you, you hate me, and the trash talking continues after the fight, much like we've seen in our next subject with Terrence Crawford when he fought, I believe it was Jean is his last name. I forget his first name. Jean, it was 2 fights ago, and he asked him, is this what you're looking for at the end of the fight?
Yep.
I mean, not to say I don't like sportsmanship when it's due, but in boxing when it's one-on-one, I really still love the real hatred and animosity, and
that's what I'm saying. When that animosity is there, fine.
Okay.
But that's why I don't think Wilder has that for this guy. I think he feels bad for him.
Sure.
So if it's not there, don't fake it.
Yeah, I get it. Don't
And
fake
so
it.
that's
'Cause
why
everyone can
I
see through
respect
that.
it. Hey, he was like murdering him. They both gave respect to each other. Like, listen, I'm getting murdered, and that's where it's good. But yeah, I've seen the fights where they like actually dislike, hate each other, and cool. I'll take that then. I'll take the anger then.
Yeah,
For
I
sure.
agree. I get
Because then it'd be fake to be like, good fight, bro. No.
Yeah. I see. There's a time and a place for all of it. And Crawford has definitely been proven that he's a guy with a mean streak. We've got finally it's kind of a fun fight. We've got a title versus title here. Victor Postol, I believe, if I've got my stats right here, he is the WBC super lightweight or junior welterweight, whatever one you want to call it, champion. And Terrence Crawford is the WBO super lightweight champion. And they're both 28-0. this was kind of hard to see coming because Victor Postol upset Lucas Matisse last year, and a lot of people, even though he came in undefeated, just they kind of thought, okay, this is a solid undefeated fighter for Matisse, but he's going to run through him. Didn't happen. Now he threw a wrench in all the junior welterweight division. Everyone kind of thought that Crawford owned the division, and there was no one quite there with him. Mm-hmm. And then when Matisse went down and got knocked out, now you see another guy who's 28-0, who's a legit contender, and let's make this pay-per-view.
Right.
So we've got Terrence Crawford at the MGM Grand against Victor Postol, HBO pay-per-view, and let's just dive right into predictions. Let's do some predictions time on Crawford versus Postol. That's right.
That's right.
And now,
There's a light.
your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Never gets old, does it, Andrea?
No, the lights add to it all the time.
They really do.
They really do.
Big pay-per-view. Andrea,
Yes.
Postol, Crawford, who you got?
I'm gonna be really honest here and say I wish I knew more about Postol.
That's what everyone says.
Yeah,
it's
right?
echoing thread everywhere.
Good. That makes me feel better
No,
about
it's
it.
true.
Because, like you said, we've covered a lot with Crawford too, and he's just more out there. But so of course I'm gonna go with Crawford. This is one of those situations where I would take Postol because I don't know much. Because I'd be like, sure, let's go with the underdog.
Who was it that you took?
I don't even want
a
to
few
talk
weeks
about
ago?
that.
I forget who that was.
That was so terrible. But yeah, I'll go with Crawford for this one.
You going decision? Because now you're just see what folks. Andrea's trying to get away with saying
With not
just
predicting.
Crawford, and then when we come back and look at the fight the week later,
I'm like, I told you.
She'll go, I told you, Crawford. I'm like, oh, well, that's great and all. Can we get a little closer prediction? Something. How about a late round stoppage, decision, split decision? Where do you see this going, Andrew? You're hearing it here first, folks.
I know. I definitely think late rounds.
So you think maybe that he's gonna get rid of him in the late rounds?
I don't know. I think they might it might be a decision at the end.
Okay.
I think that might. I'm feeling that towards.
You heard it.
this fight.
That's a strong answer. I think that might be a decision.
A 12 round.
Okay. That's what most people in the boxing business are actually. That's what's going on in their heads.
Because like you said, with 28-0 and the fact that it's on pay-per-view, I get that. So it is one of the better matched fights that they've had of late.
Yeah.
So that'll be good. But yeah, and with two guys like this, I'd kind of like to see that. We always love to see a knockout, don't get me wrong. So if that happens, cool. But I think that they will go
the distance.
And I look at size a lot too with guys. I mean, you have to, but sometimes we talk about that's boxing, you just don't know.
Yeah.
But for me, it just makes sense sometimes.
Well, Postol's a taller guy.
He is a taller guy.
Yeah, so it's going to throw a wrench in your plans.
A little bit.
Yeah. But Crawford's, he got the speed. A lot of people say he's got better power, better experience. So that's why a lot of people are giving the edge to Crawford there. So
yeah, I'm doing that.
Yeah, giving the edge to Crawford
I'll do
decision. You and I are very close on this. My prediction, I'm also going
They're
with
both just
Terrence
tiny
Crawford.
guys.
Well, Postol is tall.
He's taller, but...
for a junior welterweight. 5'11". That's tall for a junior welterweight. And Crawford's 5'8", so he's got 3 inches on Crawford. The surprising stat I was looking at with Postol is that he's really active. If you look at his last 4 or 5 fights, the guy throws, and I'm looking at here, around 75 punches per round. And you look at a guy like Crawford in his last 4 or 5 fights, he throws around 53, 54 punches per round. So a lot of people thought maybe, but Postol's kind of he's your consummate boxer. He's always taller than his opponents, so he can stay outside, jab, jab, jab. If you look at Postol's jab numbers, he's throwing about 41 jabs per round, around that, give or take, and Crawford's around 30. So Postol, of course, being the longer guy, and what he wants to do is throw that jab and keep Crawford out of his grill. Because if Crawford can get inside on you, it's lights out, because then you look at power punches, and Crawford's a guy who literally lands almost 50% of his power punches. And that's deadly. That's going to determine this fight. If Postol can keep the distance, win some rounds, like we always say, you got to bank them early.
Yeah.
With so many fights, if you can bank rounds early, it helps so much at the end of the fight. So if it takes Crawford time to get inside and tag a guy like Postol, then Postol's got a chance. But I'm picking Crawford 11th round stoppage, 11th round KO or TKO, one of the two. I think it's going to be a really thrilling fight.
I was just not sure where you were going to go with that because I thought you were going to say Postol, to the point where you even almost changed my mind.
I almost talked her into it.
You almost talked me into taking, because that is, and Postol is also a type of fighter guy, like looking at him, that I would normally go with. But no, I'll stay with my prediction.
I
think I'll stay with it.
I urge you to stay with your prediction because the one last point, and Max Kellerman talked about it on HBO briefly, months ago after he upset Lucas Matisse, Postol that is, saying that Crawford has been really impressive on television against big-time opposition for like 8 fights in a row. Really impressive. Postol has been a guy who's been kind of like this, and if you're just listening to me, I'm just drawing a straight line. And then the last 2 fights on TV, he's been really good.
Yeah.
So who do you trust? Do you trust a guy who's been really impressive for a couple of years against really strong opposition, or a guy who's really hit it big the past couple fights, but for his career leading up to that was just okay, good? I'm going to trust the guy who's been just a little more consistent, but Postol is sneaky. He did knock out Lucas Matisse, who that's a really hard task. So that kind of makes me pull back. Usually I would have said, Crawford in 6 or 7.
And second guess
but now
it,
I really think Postol is really going to stretch this fight out. But he got tagged a lot against a guy like Matisse, and Crawford's got some, he got some pop to his punches. So I think that at the end is going to be why Postol is going to get hurt and the fight's going to end. But I wouldn't be surprised by your prediction of a decision at all.
Yeah.
At all.
Would you be surprised if it went the other way and Postol knocked Crawford out?
No, I wouldn't be
surprised
because
either.
The way Postol has looked in the last 2 fights. That's a great point. Like, I don't think anyone's going to be surprised.
Because you talk a lot about fighters and their careers and how they just have a moment, and this maybe it's his moment, but like you can't just tell from 2 fights. So if he takes a third, that's getting into like more of stability, like you said.
Oh my God.
So, or cruising up that hill. So
yeah, like he becomes Crawford is kind of the face of the division right now. But if Postol wins this, he completely takes it over.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, if Postol wins, it really sets up for an amazing rematch, because usually the favorite coming in, if he gets beat, usually will get a rematch. But if Crawford wins, it's kind of like, okay, he dispatched another person at 140 pounds, bigger and better things.
Absolutely.
Which brings us into our boxing news for today.
Yes.
Let's get into the news, baby.
AfterBuzz TV News.
We're going to focus on one of your favorite fighters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember when Manny Pacquiao retired? You remember that, Andrea?
Yeah, it was like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. Well, he's out of retirement.
Of course he is. Who called that, by the way? You want to talk about predictions? Y'all go back to our YouTube at the beginning of time of this show, and I said there's no way.
That's a great prediction. That's a great prediction. I got to give it up to you. Great prediction. That's why we have you on the show.
No, right.
We have you on the show to occasionally pick someone who's never won a big fight ever, or for someone to come out of retirement. So that's why we pick Andrea.
And I'm like 50-50 with my predictions, so.
You know what? I'm officially announcing a new segment on the show. It's going to start happening next week. Or, we're going to have Andrea's come out of retirement predictions.
Awesome.
I think maybe once a month. Which legend do you see coming out of retirement
Beautiful.
sometime in this calendar year? So you were right with your first one, Manny Pacquiao.
I was. There was no way he was done. Not after that last fight. Sorry.
Big announcement. So Bob Arum, announces that Manny will be fighting in the fall this year against an opponent to be named. But Bob Arum has listed 3 of the possible opponents. These are the 3 names that he wants to see Manny face up against. Either Terrence Crawford or Victor Postol, the winner of that fight, or against Jesse Vargas, who's another title holder. So he's named all these guys who have belts. So Andrea, and I like this bed underneath what we're doing here. So we're gonna take these 3 names and play along with us on iTunes or YouTube. We're taking these 3 names: Crawford, Postol, and Vargas. Fantasy booking time, Andrea. You get to pick one of those 3 names, a venue of your choice, and what you would like to see happen in the fight or predict what would happen. So, Andrea, fantasy booking. Who do you want to see Manny Pacquiao fight?
So this is tough for right now because I almost obviously want to see how the Crawford-Postol fight goes.
Yeah.
If that's a total cop-out, I don't care. Totally. This would be a little bit easier for me to say after that fight. Right now, I would say for me it'd be between Crawford and Vargas because I actually really liked watching Vargas fight. Like I like the way he fights and his style and
Guaranteed action, got some action.
Definitely guaranteed action. He is 10 years younger than Pacquiao, and so that obviously brings a lack of experience with it, which sometimes makes for a good fight too, because you just don't know. Sometimes it'll matter, and I think that would definitely matter in that situation. So I'm gonna avoid the Crawford-Postol, and I'm gonna go with Vargas.
Oh my goodness!
Because
I love it.
I liked him. I liked watching his last fight, and I don't know. There's something about it. I would definitely have it in Vegas in the new venue that they have there.
T-Mobile Arena.
Which I've got to get to sometime soon because I spent a lot of time in Vegas, especially this year already. And I'm like, okay, let's go see something over there.
I've been trying to twist some arms in Vegas and trying to get there. I got denied a media application for Crawford versus Postol, but hey, Vegas, hey, MGM, I'm coming for you.
We're coming for you.
And we're bigger than and better than ever here. And soon, the next big fight in Vegas, you will accept AfterBuzz because we will bring a level of just integrity to the fights.
Yes. With Andrea's predictions and everything.
Yes.
That's why Vegas is Vegas. It's
T-Mobile
It's
Arena.
not just about the arena. It's about the entire city getting turned upside down every time there's a major fight. And Pacquiao's done it before, and it was a terrible fight, and doesn't matter. He will do it again no matter how the fight goes. You know what I mean? So that's my thing right there. Oh, and the results?
Yes.
I would love to see Vargas win, but I think Pacquiao would win.
Probably KO. We got to go KO. That's a spectacular finish.
I kind of have to.
I would go to that event.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a
Thanks.
booking.
Thank you.
I love it. I'll be in Vegas. I'll see you there.
So there's a new segment where I'm going to start booking things.
Yes, you're booking things. We're going to reverse it here.
Good.
I'm going to book this match, and I'm going to have it against Terrence Crawford. He's looked at as the future of kind of the junior welterweight. There's rumors that he will move up because that's what he would have to move up to face Pacquiao, and he's the next face. So I want to see Manny Pacquiao versus Terrence Crawford, and I want to see it in Los Angeles because I'm selfish.
You don't want to go
Pacquiao
anywhere.
doesn't fight in L.A. I know he's a Vegas or Macau kind of guy, but I want to see it in Los Angeles.
Cool.
And I want to see it at the Coliseum.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to see it, the football field at the Coliseum, fill that place up,
That'd be pretty cool.
Have outdoors.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Have the seating all over the football field. And my prediction is Terrence Crawford wins in a thrilling 12th round knockout because I'm fantasy booking this.
So it doesn't matter.
It's a passing of the torch. Pacquiao goes out, but on a thunderous note, you know.
And that's when I'd like him to retire.
Well, no. Then he does the De La Hoya and comes back and fights a Steve Forbes for one last fight. So he humiliates some young guy just to look good on the way out.
Yeah, right.
But that's the way I want to see it fantasy booked. Terrence Crawford taking over the next pay-per-view.
That would be very cool.
So that's what I want to see.
I like that.
That's a nice fit. That's fantasy.
Yours is really fantasy, so I kind of really like that.
Next time you can get really
I go there. Yeah, okay.
You booked it as a businesswoman.
Yeah.
I booked it as a pure fan. And at home, you can book it anywhere you want.
It makes sense, right?
Yeah. And that's pretty much our breaking news. Canelo Alvarez is going to fight at Cowboy Stadium. So that's his fantasy booking. So that's our fantasy booking today. Our last segment of the day before we get cut off here, because all the fans love it, is this day in boxing history. Now, I don't have video this week because this came in on July 17th, 1907.
Wow.
Yeah, I was not around, contrary to what
You
some of the other
weren't?
AfterBuzzers think 109 years ago. But it was Jack Johnson versus Bob Fitzsimmons. This was a gigantic fight because if I can recall the press clippings from that day, Jack Johnson wasn't allowed to fight for the heavyweight title because he was black. People said, "You're not fighting for the title." And it was this was back in the day against, and if I look up the name correct, if I can find it, I cannot. Maybe you can help me for a second. I'm drawing a blank. So Fitzsimmons pretty much stepped up, and he wasn't. Bob Fitzsimmons was looked as, a really game fighter and one of the better heavyweights of the day. And he said, I'll fight Jack Johnson. Well, not good for Bob Fitzsimmons because he was KO'd in the second round in Washington, Philadelphia. It says, what is it? Washington SC, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm not sure where that was. I feel like these places just don't exist anymore. And I'm trying to think. The fight that couldn't happen against Jack Johnson was the fight of the century against. I'll have a name here.
I was gonna say, what name are you looking for?
Jack Johnson had fought in the fight of the century.
Not John Sullivan or Jim Corbett.
Yes, it was against. Wow, I'm totally drawing a blank here. Live on the air, James J. Jeffries.
Oh, okay.
So Jeffries was the champion back then, and Jeffries like, no, I'm not going to fight you because Jeffries was kind of a dick. And so Jeffries had retired, and then in 1910 came out of retirement and got knocked out in 15 rounds against Jack Johnson. And you can find that video online. But the fight today was Bob Fitzsimmons versus Jack Johnson in 1907. I would say go watch, but you can't. And I couldn't even find a picture of the damn thing. But you can go back and watch a lot of the old Jack Johnson films. Those are fun to watch. The old silent, they're all silent. It's such a different era of boxing to go back and watch from like the early 1900s. But Jack Johnson was just head and shoulders, just a better fighter than all those guys.
You know what must be really cool about that? Think about all the noise that does go on these days. And we talked about the difference between an open ring and being inside. And so that actually might be really cool to watch and like a really great feeling because it's you're only focusing on what's really going on. You're not listening to the announcers. You're not listening to people yelling. You're not listening to the corners. You're just like watching.
The hard thing is watching the old fights is actually seeing what's connecting. Mm-hmm. It's so grainy. But it is such a different age. So I urge anyone just to go back and watch some of the old Jack Johnson fights. Check those out. And that's going to put a bow on this episode, Andrea.
Awesome.
I love the new fantasy booking. I love the new Andrea Predicts Who's Coming Out of Retirement segment.
Yes.
So before we jump out of here, Andrea, where can everyone find you online?
Thank you, Jared. You guys can follow me on all social media at Andy Fasano. Make sure to tweet us at AfterBuzz, hashtag ABTV Boxing.
Yes, ABTV Boxing.
Or leave your YouTube comments, like you said.
Yeah, the chat roll, or during the week, tweet at one of us individually and let us know what your predictions are, your fantasy bookings. I'm Jared Gilkerson. That's at Gilkerson Radio on Twitter. Until next week, we'll see you later.
Bye, guys.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Box
you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.